Good morning, friends. It is day 137 of Russia's invasion into Ukraine, and God is on the move. There's so much good happening. But let us not grow weary of doing good, because in due season we will reap a harvest, and there are great things afoot. Good news we can celebrate that will encourage us as we agree with what God wants to do in bringing not just peace, not just the absence of war, but the presence of hope, prosperity, joy, love, and the gospel to Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus. One of the great pieces of news is they just did a survey in Belarus. 95% of the people are against the Belarusian army invading Ukraine. 95%, that they're willing to say that. You've got to understand how beaten down the Belarusian people were after the 2020-2021 protests were crushed, where speaking out against the government is to risk imprisonment, if not death. So for them to say that, to get 95% to say that, that's amazing. What it says is only a small fraction of the army is loyal to Lukashenko. And if he sends that loyal faction to Ukraine, then he will be taken out of power. He can't afford to send those who would be willing to go to Ukraine. So that is great news. Just as a added thing, the Ukrainian forces are mining the Belarusian border just to be certain. But in other news, in Donbass, yesterday, they were able to shoot down a Russian helicopter near Horlivka. But in Kharkov, the Russian forces attempted to attack and weren't able to get through. In Kherson, they were, just this morning, we don't have the details, but this is big. There were 2 strikes against command posts, gatherings of equipment, and field ammunition warehouses near Chornobyivka. It's just to the west of Kherson. As I mentioned yesterday, they're encouraging all the people in Kherson and Zaporozhye to get out or to hide. Get out or hide, because they are preparing for a massive offensive. As we mentioned, those 4 HIMARS that have shown up in Ukraine have been almost exclusively on the Eastern Front. Well, there's 4 more on the way, and I have a feeling they're going to use those to back a massive offensive there in Kherson. As I mentioned, they're only 15 kilometers from Kherson City, and liberating it, which is the crown jewel of everything that Russia has done so far, would be massive. In Slavyansk, again, Russians are making no headway. They attacked the Dalina, no success there. In Lugansk, in the last few hours, we've seen 2 huge explosions, one of a warehouse in Alchevsk. These are munitions. The other near Torez. Man, it was so big that the fire from it, the fireball, could be seen 10 to 15 kilometers away for hours. We've got reports from all the way so far away, and they're still seeing the fireball in the night. It was the amount of stuff that has been destroyed. Girkin, the head of the Donetsk People's Republic military, said that in the last week, they've destroyed 8, the Ukrainians have destroyed 8, not brigade, not battalion level munitions depots, but corpus, army corpus. What that means is an entire army's reserve. So 8 armies worth of munitions were destroyed last week, and they continued. Whatever they destroyed in Torez was massive. Mariupol. From first time we've heard in a while, some partisan activity where there's been an explosion and fire reported there. This is just in the last few hours. We don't have details. And in Donetsk, the Russians attacked in so many different areas, and everywhere they attacked, they failed. Guys, right now, today, there is artillery on levels we haven't seen, except maybe one other day. The Russians are using everything in the kitchen sink. Again, these are acts of desperation. As I mentioned yesterday, they're retooling S-300 missiles to be able to make them not target air, but land. Guys, they are so down to the bottom of the barrel, but they are being told, use it all. And so pray that when they do that, it has no effect. There were some casualties today. They hit in Donetsk, they hit a apartment building, and there were 4 or 5 people that died. Again, I can't say it enough. That's horrible. but there should be more. Again and again, every single time there's something horrible like this happens, that we're shocked at how few the casualties are. So continue to pray, because this is a big day. It reminds me of Psalm 2, where it says, the Lord sits in heaven and laughs. Why do they rage? The leaders of the people, why do they rage against the Lord and his anointed one? He sits and laughs. There's a rage right now going on in the military apparatus of Russia. It's a rage of helplessness. They don't have the supplies they need right now. They are mobilizing massive amounts of... They're trying to get any troops they can recruit, buy, steal. They're going into prisons, offering 200,000 rubles and amnesty if they'll go to the front. And guys are choosing to stay in Russian prison, some of the worst in the world, the most dangerous in the world, rather than go to the front. But they're getting anybody they can, and they're dragging them to the front. And what they're doing is they're using mothballed equipment. Right now, one of the things they're bringing out are these armored troop carriers that they themselves have said in the past are they're death traps. Like, instead of protecting people, they're death traps. Guys, they're just literally trying to throw bodies at the Ukrainians. Pray for the Russian people. In other news, though, guys, we mentioned one of the big things that's going to allow Ukraine to move forward, both in the war, but also then into peace, is the fight against corruption. And there have been a couple interesting developments to bring to light. And I mentioned this before. Truth is always the friend of light and love. It is always best. Truth. Pray for truth to be revealed. Better the bad truth now than finding out later. And one of the things that's happened in the last 48 hours, Zelensky dismissed several of the key senior envoys or ambassadors abroad, to Germany, India, the Czech Republic, Norway, and Hungary. And why is this important? Is you've got to understand, Zelensky came to power. He had to cobble together a coalition of people who would work with him. He had to make a lot of deals with the devil, for lack of a better term. There were, especially in the State Department, there were so many people already pre-existing. Many of them had divided loyalties, whether with Russia or divided within as far as the vision for Ukraine, or simply they were in it for themselves. And so this is a real sign of power that Zelensky is able to clean house and bring in some people. Pray that, again, it can be a move to root out corruption. In other news, House of Representatives Congresswoman Sparks, she has spoken out calling on that President Zelensky's chief of staff, Yermak, can't be trusted, that he's an agent. It's very potential that he's an agent of Russia and she gives a lot of reasons and she calls it out. And then she gets countered by the head of the Ukrainian caucus in the Congress. Listen, hear me on this. Both the Democrat and the Republican on either side of this issue are using incredible political speech. Listen, and both are going to be self-promoting. That's just what politicians do. Whenever you're hearing heavily politicized speech, back off, don't listen, because a lot of times the truth is getting obscured. What you need to do is pray that the truth will be revealed. Don't jump to conclusions. It's very possible Yermak has been covertly working with Russians, or it could be, it's not likely considering how far he's done, but it could be he was in the past. There's a lot of options here. Pray that the truth comes to light. Just simply that. Don't get mired in politics. Don't get mired in accusation, but pray that the truth would be revealed in such a way and that people would be protected. Does that make sense? It's really important. Jesus said, beware the yeast of Herod and of the Pharisees. Beware of religion and politics. These two things can corrupt the heart, and they turn into accusation and hatred of other people. God if he can speak truth through a donkey, he can speak truth through Nebuchadnezzar, he can speak truth through a person, regardless of whether they're a Republican or a Democrat, okay? So what we're after is truth, okay? So pray for that. Keep praying. These are good things. It's always good when truth comes to the surface. All right. Sparks is asking some really, really good questions. And so pray that, rather than just that some things get answered. All right. Ukrainian mobilization. This is amazing. They've announced that right now, due to mobilization, there are up to 700,000 soldiers serving in Ukraine. 90,000 servicemen with the National Guard, 60,000 border guards, and 100,000 servicemen of the National Police. That's unbelievable that they could go from so few to so many so quickly, and they've been training them. They've been outfitting them. It's really amazing. Also, though, what's interesting is Russia, we've been saying this, that Russia wants Kharkov. That's why they keep bombing it. That's why they keep attacking it. They want it. They want it. They want it. It's the second largest city in Ukraine. It's predominantly Russian speaking. It's close to the Russian border. It's ripe for the picking. They want it. They want it. They want it. Well, guess what? They have, in fact, said they do. In other words, they're not going to be satisfied with Donbass. They want Kharkov. They want Kharkov bad. And they've already said that Kharkov is Russian. It belongs to Russia. It will always be Russia. So why is that good? Because it keeps showing that to negotiate with Putin is pointless, because he's not negotiating for the end of war. He's negotiating just to give him time to be able to take everything. That's awesome. All right. Also, in Kherson, that region, I've mentioned this again and again, in Kherson particularly, but throughout the occupied territories, they can't find enough collaborators. In fact, they weren't able to hire enough locals to form even a police force. And so, man, they're forced to bring up just people from other areas. Guys, this, I've got to say it again and again. This is an occupying force. This is not a liberation force. We know that, but it's great when it gets seen so clearly. One final thing is there's a bipartisan group in Congress that's calling for the United States to release the ATACMS missiles to Ukraine. What are these? So we've been talking about HIMARS. HIMARS are the missiles that they've got 6 missiles. They're incredibly easily targeted. They're incredibly powerful. That's how they've been able to take out these massive munition dumps, even though they're using human shields in populated areas. Well, that this ATCMS is so those go 40 to 70 kilometers. These will go up to 300 kilometers. Why is that important? It means there's nowhere in occupied territory, all the way into Crimea, they can hide all the military supplies. And so basically they can starve the Russians out. That is awesome. So finally, I'm going to have to run here. We've got a service in just a few minutes. But I just wanted to say it's time, pray. Pray as they're preparing to a counteroffensive on the Kherson front. Pray for them as they're attempting to attack to Izium and praying as they hold Kharkov and they continue to hold all along the Donetsk lines and Slavyansk. And pray for the weapons to get there. But also pray for the weak and pray for those who are fleeing, pray for the refugees, and pray for the church. Man, what Vladimir and Lilia are doing with their team from the Church Blagovest and across eastern Ukraine is incredible. So many are running, so many are hiding, so many are becoming self-protecting and self-focused. They are demonstrating the gospel, going to the least of these, serving and giving of themselves. So pray for them this morning. Man, it was amazing to watch and be part of their live service early this morning. And so if you want to find out more about what's going on with them, ariselife.org/help-Ukraine. And if you want to be a part of giving to that, every penny you give goes directly there. We cover all the transaction fees because it is making a massive difference. And you can see that if you go to their Facebook pages. But listen, love you all. Be blessed. And if you want to be a part of our service, just jump over to Arise Life, and we'll be starting shortly. Take care.